All right, so today we are going to pick up covering regular expressions and then kind of do a little bit more cover with grep because we use the regular expressions in grep so much here. Yeah. So at its bare bone basics, regular expressions is just like you kind of describe a set of text that you're searching for. And then if it finds it within the string and honestly, it's find it within a substring pretty much, then, there's a match and it'll kind of come back. As you can see that they're integrated into several different things. So here we have lots of text editors. Here we have actual programming languages, and here we have several utilities there, and of course compilers in there. So integrated to lots of different things. You'll find them everywhere. I think Mark Smith in his web design class also covers regular expressions. I don't know if anybody else does or not. So there are many different flavors. There's a lot more out there than this right here. You can see Perl uses a PCRE flavor. And then the two that we will be using is this right here, BRE and ERE. So we got the basic regular expression and then the extended regular expression. And it does what it says. It just extends the capabilities, everything that you do in here, you can do in the extended version. There's some extra, and then you oftentimes, not every time, you have to actually tell it which one you're wanting to use, or I would say you have to tell it whether if you're wanting to use the extended regular expression. But I'll show you in some cases you don't have to, and unfortunately, you just kind of have to remember which one's which there. Now, first thing you want to be aware of is the wildcards. So at first, the wildcards look very, very similar to what we've been using, but they are not at all. So you have to be very, very careful and make sure that you understand, the differences when you're actually using the regular expressions. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start at the bare bones basics here. We're not going to worry about any type of utility or syntax or anything. We're just talking about what is a regular expression. So if we had a regular expression of CKS, you can see we've got several strings right here. Then we just got to figure out, okay, does that match a substring within any of these? Of course, obviously CKS matches the CKS and rocks. And then we got sucks. And then at the end right here, we have no match whatsoever and that sentence. Now here we have Apple here, and you can see that in this case, same sentence, but note that it can match in more than one place within the same sentence. It's not searching for just a single occurrence. It'll find every single occurrence within a sentence that you feed to it. Now we have the dot regular expression. So it can be any letter, digit, white space, and basically anything. It's kind of similar to a wild card, but understand there's absolutely no repetition. It only represents a single character. So that dot could be it could be the white space right there. So that would be a match, or it could be, the EA right here. So just looking for a literal E and then any character or white space that comes after that. Now, make sure that you note that it doesn't match like a new line. So if you hit the return and there's technically nothing after that, then it's not going to match like that nothingness. So new lines are excluded from this. Now here we have character classes. So anything with a bracket. And the best way to think about this is think of it as an or. So it's going to be a literal B, and then an E or an O or an R. And then we got the literal A and the T. So you can see we've got beat, brat, boat, but boot right here, there is no match for that because basically of the A right here coming after it there. Now we've got the caret symbol. So make a mental note on the caret symbol because we're going to see that again, and it has a different meaning. The meaning is determined by its placement. So make a note that within the brackets, if the caret symbol is placed at the beginning right there, that it has a special meaning of negation. So here we're saying the literal B, and then we're saying anything but an E or an O, and then of course literal A and T. So those get knocked out, and then we get brat right there because of the R right here is not in that list. So we've seen this stuff over and over right here, but this is just kind of searching for all the vowels. Here we've got the uppercase, lowercase, so we're going to get those two matches. You can use a dash for a range in there. And then note at the very bottom right here that if it isn't between like a number or a letter there, if it's at the beginning or even if it's at the end right there, that it loses its special meaning. So it just becomes a literal. It has to be with, something before it and something after it for that range to take place there. And also pay attention, this right here, if you've got two different types of ranges, that you can actually put them in the list. It's smart to understand that there are two separate ranges, so you don't have to put any comma or do two different ones. You can simply just include those within there. Now we've got some kind of like shortened special meaning right here. So /D, that's going to be any digit, the capital, non-digit, W, alphanumeric, and then the opposite of that with the capital W. So you can even shorthand all of this even further right here. And then, of course, it's showing you the equivalents right there. And that actually, no, that works. All right, now we've seen these named character classes before. This isn't the full list. You already have the full list. So if you want to go back, you can kind of look at those. But the difference in that is on that list, it would simply be this right here. In other words, these brackets would not be in that. So understand the reason why we're using the double brackets is because of, it requires it within that regular expression. So in these, we have to go ahead and put that required by that regular expression, and then go ahead and put that character class in there. And then you can see right here, kind of makes a little bit more sense. So we're searching for a 4 or a 5 or anything that is lowercase right there. Now coming back, here's that caret symbol again, and we got the dollar. So these are kind of anchor points within it. So the caret symbol means that whatever comes after that caret symbol would have to be at the very beginning of a line. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a match. And then if we have the dollar sign, you would actually kind of put what string or anything you're looking for, and then put the dollar sign after it. And that would indicate it has to occur at the end of the line. Now, again, understand the two differences. If it's within the bracket, it's negation. If it's not within the bracket, then it's beginning of the line. All right, so here's some examples, same one that we had before, but because we put the caret symbol, then even though it matches here, it's not going to match because of the caret. So we only get beat. And then you can see at the end, you make sure that you actually know the placement. You can't put it here at the beginning of the line. It has to occur like after what you're looking for. So then we get boat as a match there. All right, now here is kind of the wild cards. And I don't really like to think of them as wild cards. I think that makes it a little bit confusing because you can think of it as repetition. That's kind of a better way of understanding it because this is all that this is. So you can see the star is used to define 0 or more. And then at first thought, you're like, well, that's exactly like the star in the shell, right? But the important part is what comes after it. It's 0 or more occurrence of a single regular expression preceding it. So this is basically whatever comes before it, this affects that. So it has really no meaning in of itself because the star is 0 or any more character and includes repetition. And of course, it represents any character in the shell, but not the case with this one. This one, it's solely determined by whatever comes, before that star. And then, of course, the plus is just going to be 1 or more. And then the question is 0 or 1. And then now if we actually took this, so if we did dot and then did the star there, now that would be the equivalent to the star in the shell, because here now we represent any character. And then we're saying that character could happen 0 times or more to infinity there. So that would be the equivalent to kind of how we do that in the shell. So in this case right here, this will make it a little bit more clear. So we have the literal Y, the literal A, but now we're saying that the literal A could happen 0 or it could happen to infinity. So we would have YY as a match. We'd have YA as a match. And then of course, YAAA until infinity, so long as it's an A, would be a match. And then in this case, you can see that because it's star, which is 0 or more, then we're it's okay if there's not an A, so the two O's are going to match in look there. All right, now this is the extended regular expression right here, and we can use the brackets to kind of get that. And this one allows us a little bit more, or actually a lot more control. As you can see, N represents our number. So this right here, with anything that precedes it, we're saying that it could happen N times. And then, of course, here, if we wanted to give a little bit more information, we could simply put a comma here with no. And so then it can happen a minimum of N times all the way into infinity. And then, of course, if we gave it a number, then we're saying a minimum of N times and a maximum of M times. So in this case right here, this is kind of representing that dot star. We're saying that any character could happen 0 times all the way to infinity. All right, now somebody explain how these two are equivalent to one another. What you got, Levi?
So the first one says you have to have at least 2 A's, but it can go into infinity. The second one requires 2 A's, and then the third A is associated with the asterisk, since the asterisk will only refer to a single regular expression, which in this case is a single character A.
Perfect. Couldn't said it better right here. This one oftentimes confuses people. So again, just so if you didn't hear him right there, the star is connected to this A. So that means it could happen 0 times, but it has to happen 2 because of the 2 literal A's right there, or it could happen to infinity and it just keeps on going and going and going and going there. So completely equivalent. All right, so now everything we've done it to this point, it's kind of been like the single character, but what if we have an entire string that we wanted for repetition, and we can actually use the parentheses right here. So that allows us to group it. So you can see in this one, A star, 0 or more occurrences of A. If we did ABC star, then AB is always going to be there, and the C is what gets affected, so it could happen 0 to infinity. But now if we put that whole thing within the parentheses, then the whole thing has repetition. So you can see ABC, and then it just keeps on going right there. Here's the extended version. So we're saying that if there's a match, it can't be just a single, it has to be 2 occurrences and 3 occurrences. So we kind of created that or right there. All right, now we've introduced several special characters. So understand that we have to have a way, if we want to use them as a literal, we can use the backslash to escape them. So if we want the $, if we're searching for it, then we have to put the backslash before that. And then also understand that the backslash itself is a special character. So you have to backslash your backslashes in order to use those as well. All right, now the fun time. Actually, let's stop right here. All right, we're going to go through this. I want y'all's help on this. So what is, actually, I'll just bring it back up. It'll be easier to write. What is this saying right here?
All
right, so we're searching for the literal $, right? All right, let's break down this part. What are we searching for? 0, 9. Now, how does the plus sign affect it? 1 or more. So again, we could have just 1, that would be a match. We could have 19, it's a match. We could have, 100, we could have 1,000. It's just going to keep on going and going. And of course, it requires that there at least be 1. All right, what's this mean? All right, so we're searching for a literal dot. Perfect. Now we've got a group, right? Now, what is this group saying right here? Let's just leave this alone. 2 numbers, perfect. So 0 through 9. And how's the question mark affect it? 0, 1 times right there. Perfect. Now, so does these 2 numbers have to occur? Or could it just be like 1? Would that be a match? No. Perfect. Because they're in a group. So we're saying these 2 groups have to occur. And of course, this could be 1 through 9 occurring, but they have to occur together. All right. Perfect. So let's copy that. And then we've got a nifty little website that I love to use. So if you go up here and note, they do not have the BRE or the ERE version, but PHP is pretty much the same as this. So it just used the default one, the PHP. They actually just added Rust here recently. That hadn't been in there. I'm going to paste that in. And what this thing does, it allows us to test our strings in here. And not only will it test, so here, just by pasting it in, you can already see how it's going to explain every single thing that's in here. And then not only will it do that, when we start typing, it's going to tell us what matched and what doesn't right here. So for this to match, we could simply just do a $sign, and then we could say, we'll just do 1 at first, and then dot. So that included the dot right there, whether that should or shouldn't be is questionable. And then a single 9, there's no capture that's taking place, but if I did 99, so you can actually see here, it's color coding it for us. So here's that first group is the light blue. The second group is, the green right there. And then we can kind of show you how if we just keep on right here, this is kind of going to go to infinity and capture that. Of course, we can change any of these, but again, that has to be that 2 right there. So 2 digits right there. If I tried to do a third one, then you can see there's no capture right there. So it wouldn't kind of grab these out and capture them. All right, that was a pretty simple one. This one, oh yeah, this one right here. I wanted to point out on it, because we didn't see this as a special character right there, but it is a special character. Not every single regular expression will recognize this, but they kind of tell you just don't use it, because depending on the utility, that is one of the ways of which you actually tell it, I'm looking for a regular expression. So it is a special character, and it's not even on the, let me go back to the website. Right here, you can get a list of all the tokens right here. It's not even in that list as well. But if we actually paste it in here, that leads to some confusion. If I was to try to escape it, you can see it breaks it right there. So it requires the escape right there, even though it's not in the list. And of course, this is just an HTML tag. So if I just did an H1, you can see then it captures it. And if I was to do an H1 again, right here, it captures that. And then of course we can change it to a 2, change it to a 4, but because 4s or 5's out of the range, then it breaks our capture. So pretty simple one right there. Let's go over this one right here. All right, so what does this mean? Has to be at the beginning. Of course, we got a group, right? So we're doing A through Z, 0 through 9. What is that underscore? Is it special meaning? Okay, so a literal. What about that one? And what about that? Literal dash. So why is it a literal? Can y'all remember?
There's not a value.
Perfect. And then we got a literal at, right? And then we got another group, and this one right here, if we remember the /D, they've just changed it up. So that's digits. So it would be 0 through 9. They've just kind of simplified it. Of course, we got our A through Z, and all that kind of is the same right here. And then we've got the literal dot again, and now we're doing A through Z. We're doing that, and then we're using an extended regular expression here saying that this can happen a minimum of 2 all the way up to a maximum of 6. And then what about that? It has to be at the end of the line. Perfect. Now, if we go in here, I can type my email address, jcorcoran@uca.edu. Now we can see all of the kind of the subgroups that it's breaking up. And then note, like, what is, I think y'all's is it Cub? Yeah, cub.uca.edu. So it's just going to keep on those capturing those. And note that the end one right here, because that's like the true kind of domain right there of it, it kind of separates that. Why you could have all these subs in a second capture group right there if you wanted to. Of course, create it any way you want to there. So pretty cool, wonderful website, because one, this right here is where all the nice stuff comes out of this. It sits there and explains it all to you step by step for you. All right, now, so we kind of got the basics of the regular expressions. Now we're going to see it with a few utilities. The only utility that we use that is not covered in here, because we'll get to it when we cover awk. I will show you awk, but since we haven't got to it, it's not in here. Luckily, I think there's only like 2 or 3 variations, so it's not bad, but again, it does vary depending on what you're doing. So here we have a test condition. So if you're checking for equality, you can't simply do the equal sign. You got to put that tilde right after it here. So let's take a look. I think mine's slightly different in here. So here I've just got the digit representing the first argument. So we're passing a digit to it. And then I've got the number, I've got an extended regular expression. Note that that did not have to change for these. So it's just equal tilde for your basic and your extended regular expression. And it's just going to test 4 digits. So is it looking for 1 or 2 digits? Or what? What is it looking for? 2 or more. Perfect. All right. So if we run it, right here, you can see it, oops. If I put a 1 in there, we get oops. If I put 2, then you can see it is a digit. But let's see what happens if I put an H, or we'll just put a lot of stuff in there. Is that a digit? We got a problem there, don't we? I want to point this out because it's a common problem. All right. Can anybody think of a quick, simple solution to fix that problem? Because remember what it's doing. It's searching for a substring. So you think about, I typed in 1, 2, 3, and then a bunch of letters. Did it find the digits within the substring? Yes. So that's why it came back and said it is a digit. But that's not exactly what we're wanting to do. It did its job in finding a match in the substring there. But we're really wanting to make sure that the whole string matches. So is there anything that we could do quickly? What you got? Wow, perfect. So let's do I. Go in here and we put in the caret symbol. Oops. The dollar sign here. Yep, that should do it. So now if we run it and then give, 12, that, oops, that's film. Hit enter, that works. We do this. Oops, that didn't work. And of course, anywhere we put anything in there, that didn't work. Even if we put it in between there, that doesn't work. So because it's saying it has to be nothing but digits in between those anchor points right there. So good job. Okay, so with grep utility, we've seen that a lot. So it does, by default, it does just the basic regular expression. If we want to do the extended, we have the -e. But note that there, you'll see on the internet a lot, the grep and egrep. Egreps being kind of phased out. At first, the grep command didn't support the regular expressions, but then they decided why have 2 different commands to do the same thing. So now you have the -E that you can give to it as an argument, and then it'll support the extended regular expressions. And then if you wanted everything to be a literal, you can do -F. And then I have no idea why that they have a -G for the default, because I, just use the default without it. I don't get it. I don't understand why they did that, but they did. Now, here is some more options to the grep command. And this is going to be kind of for your homework right here. Actually, it's a lab. I think I changed it to a lab, so it probably has everything in there. But if you do -C, then that's just going to return a count. So anytime it finds it, it's just going to count the -C and then give it a number. I like to use this a lot, especially when I'm searching for functions. If I knew I had a function, but it's buried in there somewhere, I can kind of do the name of the function. Then it just returns the name. But if I want to actually see the contents, and I could say, okay, let me see kind of X number above and below it right there. And I think there's another option where you can do just below or just above, however you want to do that. Recursive is nice if you're wanting to kind of crawl through some directories. And then you saw how we could invert it within the regular expression. But if you're using grep, you could simply do the normal regular expression, and then you could invert it with an option if you wanted to. And then if you're giving a match, of course, it's going to find all the kind of the match within a substring. If you don't want that, then you could do -W. So then it will be an exact match of the word as you typed it. And then of course you can type in an entire line if you want to. And then -N, that's very useful, especially when you're searching a large document. It will actually put where the the line number of where it found that line. And then the dash E, you can think of the dash E as an OR. There's really no need to use it whatsoever. You're just specifying a pattern. So you would kind of put your regular expression after the E. Of course, it's going to do that by default, but what it won't do is if you create multiple ones. So what you would do is do dash E, put your regular expression, dash E, your regular expression, and now you've created an OR statement within that grep command. Oh yeah, when to quote, when not to quote. Basic rule, always use single quotes because you remember the shell has different meanings for all the wildcards. So you want to put everything within single quotes. So that way everything is interpreted through the regular expression and it's going to do exactly as you want then. So just always quote with your regular expressions. Now let's go through some of these real fast right here. So we've got root. So on this, let's just pull this up right here. Wide screen. So if I did, what's it doing there? If I did grep, and then let's just go ahead and search for root. We'll do etc password here, and that will pull up the user right there. Now I talked about how we could do like an OR. So if we did dash E, again, that will work. But if I want to give it that OR, I could simply type dash E after it. Oops. Dash E, and then we'll do my name, Jay Corcoran. Hit enter. So we got that, and it would also do kind of that substring here. So that would match. You can see it's not getting the J right here. And then so if I went ahead and said, okay, it had to match exactly the word. So I could do W, and that would apply globally because I'm putting it front right there. Now you can see we did not get that return of my username. I would have to then go in here, and it would have to be exactly as I actually type it there. If we wanted to get where these actually occur, what was that? I believe it was N. That would give us the line numbers. And then we can verify, like if we wanted just the actual count of it, again, C, then it's just going to return 2. And then a cool little trick, it's kind of like the print command. So if I go back up to N, you can see we got 1 in 28 there. So if I was to go back up here and just backspace all of this right here, and I believe I can do it without quotes. Nope, I can't. I'm gonna have to do quotes. So if we did, oops, should just be that right there, and N is word. I don't want to do word. So that's kind of the print statement right there. So now we can verify there's line 1, then there's line 28 with my information on there. And of course, here we've got the OR, so anything that has an F or a Y in it, because that's going to return a whole lot. And then here we got the anchor point, so root has to occur at the very, very beginning. So that's actually kind of cool because if we were to do root right here and put in the anchor point, now you can see that it did not match the other roots in here. And then while Jay Corcoran does not have that, so it matches each one of those. And then here is a cool little trick. You're going to want to remember this one. And that's this trick right here. The caret symbol with the dollar symbol. So if we were to say cat out / etc profile here, you can see that here there's nothing there and there's nothing here. So if I was to use grep, and then we could do a search for the caret dollar symbol, hit enter, it returned nothing right there, but 2 blank lines, and that's because it did find those. So if we do -N, we can verify those line numbers right there. So line 3 and line 19 contain absolutely nothing. And I promise you, you'll want to remember that right there. It will be very, very helpful for you in the future. Here's the 2 ways to kind of do the OR. I kind of prefer the -E right here, but it's, up to y'all. You can backslash a pipe symbol right there, and that will actually do the OR. If you do extended regular expression, you don't have to backslash. You can just do the pipe. And that's why I don't like remembering that, because the -E works in both of them. And I always try to remember the least amount of possible. So I do the -E. And here is word anchors. So as you can see, we have the syntax right here. It's backslash. You're backslashing the caret symbol, which gives it special meaning in this case. And then you're saying, okay, the word has to start with C, and the dot, dot, dot represents a character. So therefore it's 3 characters. That could be anything. And it has to end with H. So you can see it would have to be a total of 5 characters versus this one right here. That would mean anything that starts with a C and anything that ends with an H, and it can have nothing or anything in between there. All right. And then lastly, we're going to have to close that out to get to it. If you prefer more of a walkthrough, I included this website right here. So it'll just kind of give you, here's giving you just an overview, and then it normally teaches you something. And this one, it just teaches you how it matches substrings. And then it gives you a challenge right here at the end. And of course, to beat this one, it's just saying match ABC in there. So I did that. So I passed it. And then once you pass it, you can then hit continue. And even if it doesn't teach you, like you could do .star and that's going to capture everything. So it's not like it limits you, but it does teach you kind of one thing at a time, making the challenges harder and harder as you go on. All right. So that is it on here. As you've kind of seen, I've been trying to take notes this class. This was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. And so some of the lectures have been a little long, and then here recently, a lot of them has been short. So this one is one of those shorter ones, and I'm trying to readjust for the future and kind of maybe add some more stuff since I switch it to this Tuesday, Thursday class. So when it comes to Thursday, I'm going to encourage each one of y'all, and I'll probably send out an announcement. So I got the server up and running. So we're all set there. And then I'm going to move your accounts over. We'll probably do that live in class. I'll just kind of have all the data ready, and I'll show you how we can create all of those on there. I won't go in depth because we'll actually cover that a little bit more, how to create the accounts, but I'll just show you the setup process on the server. And so we will then cover SSH in detail. We'll cover the SSH keys. And then we're going to set all of that up in here. So we'll set your accounts up that day. We'll set up the SSH connections and then the keys. And then I'm going to give you a brief window, probably over spring break and maybe till the Tuesday after, where I'll leave that server open for passwords because the server is vulnerable. When we have it open to passwords, I get hit all the time. So the longer I have that open, the more likely it is that someone's going to get into my system. They have gotten into my system in the past before. I may share that story on the class next Thursday on it. So anyway, brief window. So if you come here, you're going to actually get 3/4 of the lab done. The rest of the lab is just you logging on and creating a few files, verifying that you have the correct access to everything. But if you don't show up, then you're going to have to set all that up on your own. And then again, that very limited window. Of course, if you don't meet the window, then what's going to happen is you're just going to have to set up a time where I will open up the server to passwords, and I'll give you like an hour or something where it will then automatically kind of put that password or disable the password. What you got?
Is there anything we can do to prepare for Thursday?
No, there's nothing you need to do. I mean, there's nothing you can really do. We haven't covered that material. So as long as you show up, I will walk you through everything. It's not difficult. We'll just be connected to the server, and then we'll be creating some files that may kind of remember the IP address and all that stuff. So we don't have to memorize it. We can simply just call up a config file and it'll auto connect us to that. And then what's also cool is once we get past the password and we have SSH keys, you don't even have to put in a password. All of that is authenticated behind the scenes for you. You'll just have your private key on your machine that authenticates. And of course, we'll upload your public key to the server. All right. Any other questions? All right. Then y'all are good to go. Oh, also is the project. I will be covering the project at the very end, and that will be released as well.